So today we're going to go deep, I mean literally deep, inside one of the craziest military structures on the planet. We're talking about a fortress that's not just built on the ground, but carved into a solid granite mountain. The big question is, why?
And really, it all boils down to this one simple, terrifying question. How does an air force survive the first day of a war? I mean, think about it. If an attack is designed to just completely wipe you out before you can even get your planes off the ground, how do you even begin to fight back?
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the threat, what they're up against. Then we'll dive into Taiwan's incredible solution, the mountain fortress. After that, we'll look at the cat and mouse game of attacking and defending it, see how this whole thing creates a new strategic imbalance, and finally, figure out what it all means, why it could be the last force standing.
Okay, first things first. Before we can even talk about why you'd build something this insane, you've got to understand the threat. And trust me, the scale of what they're facing is just overwhelming.
It all comes down to one thing, the runways. For the People's Liberation Army, the doctrine is super simple. If you can smash the runways, the enemy's jets are toast. They're just sitting ducks, expensive, trapped on the ground, completely useless. And look, this isn't just a guess. PLA researchers have written it down, plain as day. Runways are the principal targets. That's a direct quote. The goal is to ground the entire Air Force right at the start of a conflict. So how do you do that? Well, you do it with a storm of missiles, a huge, coordinated barrage of ballistic and cruise missiles. They're the perfect weapon for the job because they're just so fast. They can swamp even the best air defenses before anyone knows what's hit them. And geography is really the villain in this story. You can see here, Taiwan is right in the middle of what's called the first island chain. And that means its air bases, especially on the western side, are just dangerously close to the mainland. That short distance, that's the whole problem right there. So you're faced with this seemingly impossible problem, right? What do? Well, the answer is kind of brilliant. You don't just reinforce your air bases, you make them vanish. And this is the core of what's known as the hard ROC strategy. The idea isn't to go toe-to-toe, plane for plane, no way. The goal is to become so tough, so fortified, so resilient that attacking you just isn't worth the cost. It's all about one thing, survival.
And the crown jewel of this whole strategy? It's the Chiashan Air Force Base. Now, I want you to get the image of a simple underground hangar out of your head. This thing is a massive, self-contained military city, carved straight out of the granite mountains on Taiwan's east coast. It's literally shielded by a mountain from that first big hit.
And the scale, I mean, it's just wild. We're talking about a place that can shelter over 200 fighter jets. It's got its own hospital, its own power generators, underground fueling stations, enough food and fuel to keep going for months. And the whole thing is connected by tunnels that pop right out onto the runways.
What this creates is something military nerds call a fleet in being. Yeah, it's a Navy term, but it fits perfectly. See, the planes don't even have to be flying to be a threat. Just the fact that they exist safe and sound inside that mountain forces an enemy to constantly worry about them, to pour tons of resources into trying to deal with them. But you know, building a fortress like this just starts a whole new fight. It's this high-tech game of cat and mouse, right? You've got the unstoppable force of new weapons trying to crack the mountain versus the immovable object designed to protect it.
So on the attack side, you've got the whole arsenal of bunker busters. You've got bombs that create huge craters and runways, and then you have these insane earthquake bombs designed to literally shake a tunnel until it collapses. But on the defense side, you have this multi-layered shield, not just missiles, but hardened electronics built to survive something like an EMP. And this defense system is smart. It's not just one wall, it's like layers of an onion. Way out, you've got long-range systems like the Tiancong 3 trying to knock stuff out high up. If a missile gets past that, the Patriot PAC-3s are waiting to take it out as it gets closer. And if anything, like a cruise missile or drone, somehow gets really close, well, that's when the phalanx guns open up for that last-ditch defense.
Okay, but what if you can't blast through the mountain itself? This is where attackers get really clever, almost like a physics puzzle. Instead of hitting the mountain, they aim for the ground right in front of the hangar doors. Then they hit it with one of those massive earthquake bombs. The shockwave doesn't go through the air, it travels through the ground and hits the tunnel from below. It's basically trying to break the floor, its weakest point, and collapse the tunnel from the inside out. Pretty sneaky, right?
All right, so let's zoom out a bit, because a fortress like Chiashan doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Its existence actually shines a spotlight on a much bigger problem, a really critical imbalance across the whole Pacific.
People call this the shelter imbalance, and what it means is this. For decades, both Taiwan and China have been pouring money into building hardened underground aircraft shelters. But at the same time, many of the forward U.S. bases in the region are still, well, they're pretty out in the open. They're vulnerable. And when you look at it like this, the difference is just, wow. The number of hardened shelters that Taiwan and China have is way, way higher than what you'll find at regional U.S. bases. And that gap, that's a huge, dangerous vulnerability. And this is where that vulnerability gets really scary. 70%. That's the number some analysts estimate. 70% of U.S. aircraft at some of these bases could be knocked out in just the first few minutes of a fight. Just gone. And this isn't just a hypothetical. An actual U.S. Air Force study looked at Kadena Airbase, a super important hub. What they found was that it would only take about 34 missiles to knock out most of the aircraft there, leaving just 82 out of 268 ready to fly. That's the shelter imbalance in action. So all of this, it brings us right back to that mountain base and what its real purpose is. Because when you really get down to it, the whole point of Chiashan and the hard ROC strategy isn't about winning the first fight. It's not about some big dramatic air battle. It's about something much grittier. It's about being able to take that first catastrophic punch and still be standing. It's about making sure that when the dust settles, you're the last force left that can still fight back. And that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? In a world where precision weapons can hit almost anything, anywhere, is this the future? Is the only way to really be safe to go underground, to build our defenses deep inside the earth, just like they did at Chiashan?